There's an ongoing joke in the fighting game community where people talk about the absurdity of how many games certain fighting game franchises have. With just the main ones alone, we have 6 Street Fighters, 8 Tekkens, like 12 Mortal Kombats, and too many KOF games for any single person to have played all of them. Fighting games tend to be dominated by the big franchises, with very few indie games coming along and having staying power. They do exist, things like Skullgirls have a very dedicated player base, but fighting games are usually reserved for 2 types of game. You either have an already established franchise, or B, they already have an established IP that will sell based off of a name alone. With so many games, people are starting to say that the genre is becoming oversaturated. Is this true? We'll go further into this topic on this video and answer the question, are fighting games oversaturated? First, we must know the definition of oversaturated. Oversaturated means filled, supplied, or soaked to an excessive degree past the point of being helpful or normal. In the intro, I said that we have an absurd amount of fighting games in the major series of fighting games, but that's because these series have been around longer than a majority of other games. While we are getting a lot of fighting games right now, this is only a recent thing. There was a good amount of time where people weren't playing fighting games and games were coming out less and less often. So the saturation of fighting games is only a recent development, and we know that the genre is at least saturated with a lot of games right now, but is it oversaturated? And to just get it out of the way, I would say no, fighting games are not oversaturated, but there are aspects of the genre that are. I think the greatest example of an oversaturated section of the fighting game genre is anime fighters. If you see an announcement for a new anime game, whether it be Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, Hunter x Hunter, or anything else you can say with 99% certainty that the game will be a fighting game. Which, in the defense of the companies, makes sense because all these anime are shonen, with a lot of fighting and the perfect opportunity to make fighting game character kits. But people are so tired of the same thing every single time. It isn't the fact that they only make fighting games, it's that they only do the same game with a different skin, aka the different anime. You have the 3D arena fighter trope, with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Naruto Ninja Storm, and Bleach Rebirth of Souls. And then you have your standard 2D fighter, such as Dragon Ball FighterZ, Hunter x Hunter and Impact, and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. And I know Persona was a video game first, but they also have an anime. This is a part of the genre that I would say is oversaturated. I think the hardest thing is that we're at a point in the FGC where it's growing very quickly, so they're pumping out a lot of games. And while yes, the community is growing quickly, it isn't quick enough to yet split the community into all of these new games, and each of them have a sizable player base. The fact is that if you aren't Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Smash Bros, or Guilty Gear, you aren't going to have the biggest player base. This is why anime fighting games do so well. They take already established IPs that will sell very well no matter what, and turn them into a fighting game that usually dies out very quickly. Some of these games don't die out, such as Dragon Ball FighterZ, but a lot of them do because of the varying quality in these games. Some anime games, such as Dragon Ball FighterZ, are very well put together and fun to play, while others feel very bare bones and get dropped as soon as the new big contender comes out. I think the fighting game genre gets a lot more games because it's more accessible to a new IP. Making a first-person shooter game without a big-name IP or a big-name company backing you is almost impossible. But the fighting game community is still tight-knit, and I hate saying this word, but niche enough, that the fan base is more willing to try new games, because you can produce a game that gets more people interested with cool mechanics in the fighting game genre, but can you imagine trying to make a basketball game that anybody would buy over 2K? I don't think 2K is that good of a game, but it sells well every single year off of name alone. This is one of the things I love about fighting games, though, and it's that everybody is willing to support everybody. Yes, you have your toxic people here and there, but for the most part, everybody is trying to have fun with one of the few genres that transcends multiple generations of gamers. So while fighting games as a whole genre are not oversaturated yet, I'm concerned about the future of fighting games, especially with the genre growing. I don't want to give the wrong impression because I'm not complaining that fighting games are growing. It's actually the opposite. I'm glad people are taking interest in fighting games because that means more community fun, more games, and overall just a better time with the genre. But there is a valid concern for future oversaturation. If big companies start to see that fighting games are the next big thing, they might start to pump out a franchise game that releases a new installment every year with aggressive DLC and low development quality. Luckily, something I really like about the fighting game community is that since there are a lot of games to play, and most players are willing to jump from game to game, if a game comes out that isn't up to standard, people will usually ditch it very quickly. I think fighting games tend to have a lot of built-in quality of control because the players know what they want, and they're very picky for that, for better or for worse. It helps keep out games that are low effort and don't care about the player, but on the other hand, it's the reason why every single time a balance patch happens, you can go to Twitter and see some random guy complaining about how the 0.5% damage reduction on a combo really messes up their extremely niche mix-up combo. And that's the end of the world for his character, and now they're at the bottom of the tier list. So how do we as players keep fighting games from becoming oversaturated? The first thing we can do, I already stated, is just don't play the games that are contributing to worse standards for the fighting game community. But second of all, and the most important part, is to support the games that try their best to give you the highest quality product so that they can keep making games that are worth your time and money. Give props to developers when they listen to the community and make a change that positively impacts the game. When a new studio tries to bring in their new fighting game, check it out. And if you think it looks cool enough, support them, because the indie category of fighting games is a category I feel is a little underexplored and can become something that blossoms into something beautiful. Some great examples of the fighting game community coming together to do these types of things are things like the Sajam Slam, bringing in new players and new eyes to the different fighting games that he does, and certain streamers who were in the Slam have pivoted some of their content to become a fighting game creator. Creators like Tyler1, Doublelift, and Lazy Matman, to name a few, have all gotten really good at fighting games and made content about it to bring new people to it. We also have games like Multiverses, where it had a very weird stream of content, and the game wasn't very good in the grand scheme of things, so people stopped supporting it and showing how good quality is necessary to make it in this genre. I think this genre has some of the most positivity out of any genre, but most importantly, they have one of the most friendly communities that are welcoming to new players and are excited to have new people interested in their hobbies. So if you're watching this video and you aren't already in the community, all it takes is joining a Discord server and hopping in. I promise people won't be mean to you even if you get destroyed over and over, and they'll try to help you get better because we all want to have fun playing these amazing games, and trust me, they've been where you're at some point. So, to summarize, I don't think fighting games are oversaturated. I think with the way the community operates, they shouldn't become oversaturated anytime soon either. No matter what genre you're playing, there will always be games that don't fit the standards and don't do well. That doesn't mean that it's become oversaturated. Most importantly, keeping the community where it's at with positivity and people who are welcoming is the key to making sure this genre stays amazing and gets better as time goes on. I want to thank you for watching this video. I'm so thankful for the views and interactions I got in the last video, and I hope that I can continue to get better and make more content that people will enjoy. If you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you liked, subscribed, and or commented. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I will reply as much as I can. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And as always, God bless.